Welcome to video number 2 in my 4-part series on moving to Victoria, BC. In this video, I'm going to go through the logistics of moving yourself across the country. I'm going to walk you through our process of planning, packing, and moving all our stuff. I'm going to talk about selling my home in Toronto and buying in Victoria. And I'm also going to share our story. I'm going to put a big asterisk on this that we moved at the peak of COVID. So at the time that we were shopping for a home and considering different areas, we were not able to get here physically. And that definitely put a spin on how we approached things. I'm going to share what I think best practices are in post-pandemic moves. So I'll walk you through what I've helped people do because I've helped a lot of people move to Victoria at this point. And hopefully that will help a little bit. But I think the best place to start is really in just sharing our story. We decided to move in March, and it actually started out as a joke. I was chatting with my wife. I was selling my business to my business partner, so I was going to be starting up a new business regardless. And with that, I kind of, as a joke, said, "Hey, we could move and go live anywhere we want, And we kind of joked around about it like it was this goofy thing we would never do. And then it started getting more real. And we started talking about where we could go. And I'd always wanted to live here because I had my little brother and sisters out here. And I just got really excited. Andy had never been here. So I know I'm a good salesperson because I was able to talk her into moving to a place she'd never been and she wasn't able to see before committing to living here. So what we did was we put ourselves on a consideration period. We said that we weren't going to decide for sure for at least 30 days. And we just talked about it. The entire period, we kept on being at a 100% yes every single week. And so about 3 weeks in, we couldn't take it anymore. We made the decision and we started prepping.
So this is the adventure mobile we're buying. Hallie, do you like it?
Yeah. I want to get down.
We got a slide-out dinette, fridge, furnace, water heater, stereo, 3-burner stove. Day of the move. Woo-hoo. Neck wrap everywhere. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God, my lovely wife.
Hi.
How are we doing?
So good.
Hello. Du-du-du-du.
Mom and Dad.
Hello. It's night number 2.
Hello.
Hello. What did we do today, Hallie? We had some fun.
We had some fun. What did we do?
We have fun.
We worked on our house from March till June. It was a house that we were renovating, so there were a few things to finish up. And most importantly, we had a ton of stuff to sort through. I'm going to talk more in a moment through some of the logistics of what that looked like. In June, we listed our home and our home closed in July. We started our drive across in mid-July and we arrived in Victoria in August. So all told, it was less than 6 months from the very first moment that we even thought about this to when we arrived in our new home. I will say that for us, this was pretty quick. I had to wrap up a business in Toronto. I had a lot of prep work done because I sell homes for a living. I take deal in pride in how I present the homes that I own to the market. So we wanted it perfect. And so we put a lot of work into the home. It took a lot of work sorting out what we would keep, disposing of things that we didn't want. We sold a ton of stuff on Kijiji and Marketplace and stuff like that. And then also actually logistically packing and prepping everything for such a long move. So that took a lot of energy. We also bought virtually. So I was not able to fly out here and visit neighborhoods because of COVID. And so we had to rely on my brother, who's also a realtor out here, to kind of walk us through what communities we could consider. And then ultimately, I purchased a home using video and floor plans as opposed to being able to walk through it. And true story, this home that I bought, which has been a great purchase, and we're so happy with the neighborhood and everything about this property is being just great. Even my brother, our realtor, wasn't able to walk through this home before we wrote an offer, just because of the speed at which offers were coming in the market. So I actually wrote an offer conditional on him seeing it. I removed my request for a home inspection, and we went from the next morning. So it was very, very rushed. It was an intense shopping period. I think we offered on about 6 homes. We got our home sold in a week. It went really quickly, which was great. And then we just, all that was left was really packing everything up and getting moved. Okay, so how did we actually logistically get ourselves across the country? I want to just say that this is a long distance. We're talking 4,500 plus kilometer drive. And yeah, we drove it. So I'll talk more about that in a minute, but our process looked like this. First of all, I had all kinds of stuff from having lived in Toronto for 25 plus years that might not have made sense to bring because I either didn't need it anymore or it otherwise was too big. Generally speaking, shipping things this much of a distance is very expensive. So what you'll find is that a lot of stuff you're better off to either give away or sell or whatever you can get for it and just purchase new when you get here. Our approach was to look at everything in a value per cubic foot perspective. So you might have something that's really valuable and yet it's also really big. That's going to take up more of a moving truck or a shipping container. And so it dollar per cubic foot might not be as valuable as something much smaller that isn't really worth that much, but is expensive for its size. So for example, power tools made a lot of sense to bring. I've always been the handy type. I like to fix up my homes. I do a lot of that stuff myself, and I've got a lot of tools. A tool is really valuable for its size, jewelry, instruments. Obviously, looking at this, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be personal or sentimental. And I exclude all of that from this concept, obviously, because that's just your stuff. You want to take care of that. You want to make sure you bring it with you. But it's interesting to kind of put that lens on your personal belongings and say, you know, I've got this beautiful armchair that I spent a lot of money for me on, and it doesn't make sense to ship it because I would have to give up a whole bunch of other smaller things that individually are worth less, but collectively I could fit into the same amount of space and I would be able to get a new armchair for less on the other side. So looking at that made a big difference. Now you can ship using a shipping company or a moving company, and that can be an absolutely great option. For us, what we ended up doing was putting all of our stuff into a shipping container. So we went with a company that dropped a 20 by 8 by 8, so 20 feet long, 8 feet tall, 8 feet wide shipping container on our driveway. And then we had a couple weeks or however long we needed to get it filled up. We didn't take long. It took us about 4 days. And then they come back, they pick it up, and they orchestrate shipping it across the country and delivering it to wherever you like. For this option, I really like this option. I felt like my stuff was secure. It was by far the most affordable option from all the things that we looked at. For this option, though, one thing to be aware is you need to make sure that both the pickup and the delivery address are going to be accessible for this type of container. They have to bring a big truck in. They have to be able to drop the container somewhere. So if you have a sloped driveway or there just isn't access, you might end up having to go back to their depot and unload your stuff into another truck at the depot and then bring it back to your home. So just a consideration, there are different companies with different sizes and different delivery methods. So generally, it's a pretty good option that we were really comfortable with. And the shipping container that we got was clean, it was secure, it was dry, and it was bomb-proof. The thing was super tough, so I wasn't too worried about our stuff, and everything arrived in absolutely perfect condition. We also hired a moving company to help us load it, which was super helpful because they knew a lot about how to pack these containers, and they packed it differently than I would have. And in the end, we were able to get so much stuff in. It was absolutely incredible. We had 2 cars. So when it came time to getting across, we knew that we were actually going to drive across. We actually purchased a camper and we took the camper across with the kids, which was really fun. It was also really challenging. I'm going to talk about that in our mistakes a little bit. But now we own a camper, which has been really fun to explore the island with. And it was just a cool way to actually get here. It turned the whole thing into even more of an adventure. But with 2 cars and a camper that we were pulling with a van, we didn't want to drive in 2 vehicles because it was such a long drive. We wanted all of us to be together. So we actually shipped one of our cars. And you can ship a car on freight for way less than I thought it would cost. I paid in 2021 dollars about $1,200 to ship my Honda, and they let me put all my snow tires in it as well. So I shipped out 2 cars of snow tires packed inside my little SUV. So that worked out really well also. During the whole process, we essentially became masters of Facebook Marketplace and Kijiji. And I would say that I probably sold about 60% of the stuff that I own. I got rid of so much stuff. On a whole, the move was really good for us because it kind of forced us to do a purge that we probably should have done years ago. I think anyone who lives in a home for several years starts to accumulate more than they are actually using. And it's just healthy to kind of cleanse all of your belongings from time to time. And I was able to give a ton of stuff away. I sold a lot of stuff, probably for less than I could have, but I was able to do it quickly. And it was during COVID, so it was pretty normal to do porch pickup. And so just about anything that we wanted, we would just take a quick picture and put it out on the porch, and someone would come by and pick it up pretty quick. Okay, so I will start by saying that just about everything went really well for us involved with our move, the purchase, and the location where we ended up buying our home. And with that said, there were a few things that probably could have gone a little bit smoother. And I thought it would be nice to include those in this video so that you might be able to learn from some of the stuff that we weren't able to see in advance. The first one is something that we probably didn't have much we could have done about, but it affected us. So I'm going to just share the story. And that is that we bought during peak COVID. And with the travel regulations at the time, we weren't able to come out here to look at neighborhoods and actual properties. We were very lucky that our real estate agent was my brother, who had been working on the island for a few years and had lived here for a few decades, and he knew me really well. So I was able to walk him through what I thought I needed to feel comfortable. And his experience with me, he was able to really lend me a lot of good advice about locations where he thought me and my family would be comfortable and really where we'd thrive. In the end, we got a great property, we got a great deal, and we also ended up in a neighborhood that we absolutely love living. The second one is that we didn't measure all our furniture against the floor plans in the home before moving across. I was talking earlier about how we had to evaluate the stuff that we chose to bring with us based on the value it represented per cubic foot, because we were so constricted in the amount of space that we had to bring things across. And we ended up bringing a fairly sizable king bed frame across with a huge headboard, which didn't fit in the space that it needed to stay in our new home. So we paid to ship something that ultimately we sold for less here than we could have in Toronto. And it meant that we had to say goodbye to some of our other belongings in exchange. All in all, it wasn't that big of a deal. And it was something that we kind of just bumped past. But if you want to save yourself the trouble, I'd recommend measuring the furniture that you are bringing against the floor plan, just to be sure that you'll be able to put it where you think you'll want it. And if not, you could sell it in advance of the move. The last one that I'm going to talk about was our actual plan to get ourselves out here. We thought it'd be really fun to buy a little camper and to come across in a relaxed sense. But what we found was that by the time we'd done all the packing and we put ourselves and our 2 young kids into this thing, it was starting out with us at a deficit. We were exhausted. We were packed into this camper because there was all kinds of stuff that had to come with us that really kind of made our life inside the camper a little bit less comfortable than it would be if we were just on a vacation. And ultimately, a 50 to 60 hour drive with a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old is something we probably should have thought through a little harder in advance, because there were certainly moments that the kids weren't enjoying very much and they made sure to let us know. All right, so to wrap this up, let's just go back through some of the most important things you should think through before you start to plan your move. And the first one I'm going to start with is your stuff. I was moving from a very far place. So I was, about 4,500 kilometers away, and I was driving. If you aren't that far, you might not need to be as extreme as I was. But generally, if you're moving from anywhere in the middle of the country to Victoria, BC, you're probably going to want to sell a lot of your stuff. Again, try to look at stuff objectively for how much value it brings to you, either in terms of replacement cost or sentimental value, against the size that it will take in a shipping container. And that should really help you to prioritize the right stuff when it comes to your pack. Don't forget that there are lots of different ways that you can get your stuff across. For us, we were prioritizing security and cost when it came to moving our stuff. So we hired a moving company that we trusted because I'd worked with them in Toronto to help us pack really effectively into a shipping container. And we used a shipping container because for the cubic space that we got, it was the most economic. You can also look at having a moving company help you pack up some stuff, and they will ship it out here for you, but you'll generally pay more for that. And it's also absolutely possible to rent a U-Haul truck and drive it across. I just don't know that you're going to have the best time doing that. A lot of people ask if they should purchase before they move because they think it might make sense to rent for a year or 6 months to get acquainted with the area. If you're not sure that you're going to stay long term, that can be a good idea as a way to kind of put your toes in the market to see if it's a place that you could see yourself living. With that said, if you're planning to stay long term, I definitely encourage you just to buy and get it over with. We tend to see upward price trajectory in Canada on a whole in our real estate market almost indefinitely. At the time I'm shooting this, we just went through a little bit of a softening period, but prices didn't come down nearly as much as they'd come up in the past few years preceding it. So overall, financially, you're going to be better off getting your money into the market sooner than waiting and ending up most likely paying a higher price. Not to mention the fact that you're going to have to move again in a year, which is exhausting, it's time consuming, and will again cost you a lot of money just to do it. So I say just tear the Band-Aid off and get into something. I can help you find something that will make you comfortable, and we can work through the shopping process to be sure that we make the area to your priorities. That way you're getting into something that's going to really suit your whole life. Another big question mark I would ask myself is, should you drive across or fly across? And I shipped most of my stuff and then drove with the remaining stuff in a camper. That was fun on some levels, but it was also just another huge layer of exhaustion and burden when it came to orchestrating the move. And looking back on it, if I had to do it again, I would probably just ship all my stuff and fly myself and my kids across to our new home so that I could just get unpacked and feel settled. We went through about a month where we weren't living anywhere, and it was exhausting with a young family. All in all, no matter how you choose to get you and your stuff across to Victoria, BC, I'm sure you're going to love it once you get here. And the sooner that you can get unpacked and start enjoying this incredible city and the amazing nature that surrounds it, the better. If you have questions or you'd like to talk with me about different areas and what you should consider in your shopping process, please use the link in the description, because I would love to hear more about your plans and help welcome you when you get here. Thanks for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.